Bond makes America less safe. Welcome to Rising Crime. I understand why they feel like they should get rid of Bond. I understand it, though I don't agree with it. If you don't have money to bail out, then sit in jail or don't commit crimes. Don't carjack someone to go on a 30-minute joyride only to ditch the car and carjack someone else. Don't shoot, stab, strangle, or otherwise do something that will injure, maim, and or kill someone. Don't take something that isn't yours, especially if what you're taking is someone else's life. Don't do these things and bail, and your ability to pay it will have no control over you because you will not find yourself in jail. It sounds so simple. We are a nation of laws, or we used to be anyway. If you follow the law, you will not need bail. I know. Cops are arresting poor black boys because they are racist and evil, and people in poor communities are being targeted by these white racist cops. I know, I've heard it all before. Only it's not true. Cops go to where crime is. And if you live somewhere with a lot of crime, you'll likely encounter police more often. But aside from a few bad apples, the majority of police just want to keep the streets safe, do their job, and go home at the end of the night. I've covered a lot of these out on bond murderers. People that are out on bond that go on to kill somebody while they should be in jail. In the last 2 weeks, I've covered 7 stories, and that's not all of them. Here's some examples of some that have happened just this year. In April of 2022, O.C. Banks Jr., his dad got him out of jail on a $10,000 bail. And you know how he rewarded him? He murdered him and his mother. Malik Hill shot an Indiana police officer in the throat. He was out on a $500 bail because his name was spelled incorrectly in their system. Asaman Nash, you remember the guy who stabbed Christina Yuna Lee in New York? He was out on bond for at least 3 previous offenses. Sean Laval Smith, you remember that guy that killed Breonna Kemfer in a Los Angeles furniture store? He was out on bond, a $50,000 bond at the time that he killed her, and he had a long rap sheet. Darnell Brooks, the Waukesha Parade Christmas massacre dude, the guy that drove his car through a bunch of people, killing 5 during the Waukesha Christmas parade, he was out on a $1,000 bail. A guy in Indianapolis, Travis Long, he was out on a $5,000 cash bond, paid for by the Bail Project in Indianapolis. I could go on all day on this. Bond makes America less safe. And the number of people that are being murdered by people that should still be in jail is rising all the time. Last year alone, just in the city of Houston, 150 people were murdered by someone out on felony bond. 150 in 1 year in just the city of Houston. Now, I would say that that number would be a lot. If that was the number that happened throughout the whole United States, I would say that's a large number. 150 is a lot of people being killed that should still be alive today if the criminals were being kept in jail. But they're not. And that 150 was from one city. Bond makes America less safe. And Illinois wants no cash bond and everyone to be free. And that will happen there in January of 2023, in just a few months. There are cities across the United States where their teenage population is dying faster than their elderly population because they're out killing each other on the streets. They passed these no bail laws, no cash bail laws, let everybody out on bond for free. They passed these because they think they're helping black people, because they think all black people are poor and couldn't pay their bond. So they pass these laws to help them. But in the end, it hurts black people the most, because these guys they're releasing are going right back into those neighborhoods and influencing the children that live there. If you're a young boy living in one of these bad neighborhoods and you don't have a father and you're looking for a male role model, and the people you see in your neighborhood, the ones that seem to be the strongest, the ones that seem to be in charge, are the criminals. And if what you're seeing on the street are people carjacking, people murdering, people robbing people, that's what you're going to grow up and that's what you're going to do. Because that's what you're seeing. So releasing all these criminals back into these same neighborhoods is actually creating more criminals. Because if they were in jail, some of these kids would have a chance. But when they're out on the streets, the kids get roped into gangs, or they just start carjacking because it looks like fun. They get a gun from somebody and they think it'll be fun to shoot somebody. And then you got a 13-year-old who spends the rest of his life in prison. I'm going to give an example that is nowhere on the same level as what we're talking about, but it goes to prove a point. When I turned 16, my first car was an old Camaro. And it was a car that was meant to be driven fast. So I drove it fast. I got ticket after ticket after ticket. I had that car for probably at least 5 years. And I don't know how many tickets I got, but it was a lot. Because when I drove that car, I felt like I needed to speed because I felt like that car needed to drive fast. But at some point when I was in college, I got rid of that car and I bought a Jeep. It was an old Jeep. It had over 200,000 miles on it when I bought it, and it didn't like to go fast. It barely liked to do the speed limit. So the whole time I owned that Jeep, and it was for a long time, I didn't get a single ticket because I didn't speed. When I was driving the older sports car, I got tickets all the time. I moved to a vehicle that didn't really want to speed, and I didn't want to speed. I changed my circumstance. Now, I know this isn't the same level of a story, but had I had the Jeep from the beginning, I probably would have never sped all those years and gotten all those tickets I did when I was young. And it's kind of the same thing with these kids, only on a completely different level. That if they're not exposed to all that violence, if their role models from the street are not convicted felons, they might take a different path. They might have a chance. But when all they're seeing is that, and when the guys that they're looking up to, they look cool to them when they're young. Those are the guys, they got all the money. Oh, they do this and they do that. And they think it's fun. And they're not seeing that there's another path for them. Because that's the path that they're seeing. Because these criminals keep going back into these neighborhoods instead of staying in prison where they should be. Bond makes America less safe for everyone. I don't know how many stories I've done on people that were released on bond that went out and either that went out and killed somebody and then they go back in and they had a sentence, or their original crime was small enough that they would have probably only served a couple years, maybe 5 years or whatever, but they would have still had a life. But then they get released out and then they go murder someone and then they get a life sentence. So by the judge releasing them on bond in the first place caused their life to get worse, as well as the person that they killed, and the family and friends and everyone that knew the person that they killed's life gets worse. And some of these guys, I just did a story a week ago about a guy who killed his girlfriend, who got released on bond, killed his girlfriend, and he was fleeing from the police. And while he was fleeing from the police, of course, he goes and he starts shooting at the police. And so what did the police do? Well, the police shot back, and he's dead. So this judge that thought he was doing this guy a favor by letting him out on bond, or no bond, actually caused this guy's death, and the death of his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. But it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't even help the criminal. Sometimes, if there's minor charges, fine. But if a guy is in jail for beating up his girlfriend and smashing her with a hammer, and then you release him with a no contact order, okay, that's a piece of paper. No contact orders and restraining orders are the biggest joke and the one thing that is most likely to get the woman killed. They release this guy in a no contact order and he goes out and kills the girlfriend, the one he had the no contact order against. I don't know. I mean, these judges, this is their job. They see this stuff every day. They have to know that when they release somebody that just pounded their girlfriend with a hammer, if you release them back out, what do they think is going to happen? I mean, seriously, this is their job, these judges. This is their job. They have to see this coming. But either they don't, or they don't care. Or they live in a state or city that doesn't allow them to put the person in jail, which is just as bad, if not worse. But the no contact orders, the restraining orders, those are pretty much a death sentence when it involves a guy and a woman that he used to be dating. It is a death sentence for that woman. And it happens all the time. Well, that's all I got for you today. Stay safe, America. Keep your head on a swivel, and remember, a bullet can travel over a mile unimpeded. So keep dodging those strays until these shooters get better aim. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.